Resiliency comes from genuine empathy. Not just, I can walk a mile in your shoes, but I will sit in this muck and mire with you. True interpersonal connection and love. Love is the greatest force in the world. It has brought down empires, built new ones. It's fatal, but it also gives life. Without it, the world would have ended a long time ago. But how do people experience complex trauma and come out okay sometimes, and others not so much? Being resilient means getting a new chance. Being resilient means tragedy becomes triumph. Yet, how do we teach resilience? How do we instill it into our children? I have an amazing 6-year-old little boy, and just like this photo, he's my little Superman. I hope he survives anything life throws at him, and not merely survives, but thrives and does so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style, to quote the late, great Maya Angelou. Resiliency is defined by all these different words. I personally like that last word best, buoyancy. Ability to stay afloat no matter what storms come, my dictionary. I was born in Dallas, Texas, and my family moved to Keller, which is a small, safe, quiet suburb of Fort Worth, Texas, when I was 5 years old. I'm the youngest of 6 children. My parents have been married 55 years today. The same year we moved, my oldest brother, Brian, committed suicide, and life began to change for me. My family recovered the best they could, though, and as I matured, I had a mostly normal childhood. I was a soccer player, a cheerleader, but at the age of 14, I was raped. That moment filled me with shame and guilt because I had snuck out, so I blamed myself and never told anyone. Being a teenage girl is hard on everyone, much less when you're walking around carrying pain from unresolved trauma. A short time later, I began to cope with drugs and ran away from home at the age of 17. I bounced around a while, living with whoever would take me in, stealing food in order to eat, and sleeping wherever I could, until I met this guy who seemed really nice, and I thought he was cute. So I decided to move in with him, only to realize the next day what intentions he had for me. I was driven in a car to Harry Hines Boulevard in Dallas, Texas, and told exactly how to ask people if they wanted to have sex with me and exactly how much money I had to charge them. I was terrified and in shock. My entire world flipped upside down on top of me. I should have been a sophomore in high school, but here I was faced with this decision, knowing that if I disobeyed them, I may die down there. So I obeyed. That one day turned into the next 10 years of my life. Once, I thought I was escaping, but I ran into the arms of another man who would turn around and abuse me and exploit me all over the country. I wasn't able to get away until the federal authorities finally became involved. I wound up serving 13 months in federal prison because I was too terrified to tell on my trafficker. When he turned himself in to serve time on the same indictment is when I knew I had my chance to escape, time to run and hide and change my identity before he hunted me down and killed me like he promised. I wish life got better then, but it didn't. I blamed myself for my own victimization. Traffickers are skilled at making their victims feel guilty over what's happening to them, and that somehow they're choosing their own exploitation. In fact, one of the hardest things for a victim of human trafficking to do is self-identify as a victim. It's much easier to believe that you had some amount of control and that you made bad choices and got what you deserved than to admit someone else manipulated you into doing unspeakable things. What I remember dreaming about as a little girl was becoming an attorney because I love justice, and let's face it, I love arguing. But also becoming a comic book artist because I love laughing and being funny. I even remember wanting to become a physical therapist because I loved helping other people get whole again. When victims of human trafficking come through our doors, they come through terrified of facing what they don't know, terrified of navigating a world that seems foreign to them. The woman standing in front of you today has been arrested at least 10 times. I have a federal felony. I have been raped more times than I care to count. I have been robbed at gunpoint. I have been strangled with a gun to my head. I am a high school dropout, only getting my GED because a federal prison made me. I was horrifically abused, physically, verbally, and emotionally for more than a decade of my life. I was starved at one point. I owe the IRS $250,000 and have about $500,000 of debt in my name due to my trafficker. So when I thought about running, what was I running to? The women I get to serve today face many of these same barriers in almost every area of life. They come through our doors terrified. I remember the first day that I walked through our door. I had a girl I was exploited with called me one day and said, "Hey girl, there's this group of church ladies that wants to help strippers, and they have this support group that meets, and did I want to go with her?" And I remember thinking, what? Yeah, right. They're gonna be all judgy, but it was a free meal and I was pregnant, so I said, "Sure girl, I'll go." I remember thinking, there is no way I could connect with these women with these cleaned up, pristine lives. But when I walked through those doors, I was met with the most genuine embraces, the most kind, non-judgmental eyes for people that had genuine empathy for me and my experiences. I even got a gift and a gas card just for showing up. Those came as a shock to me. Where I come from, people don't do nice things for you for nothing in return. People don't give you gifts without taking whatever they wanted from you. Human trafficking is a problem affecting every community in the world today. It is not a problem for those people over there. I am your daughter. This could have happened to any one of you. So when I found myself in the support group, I found myself surrounded by people that truly cared for me and my experiences. They saw something inside of me that I didn't even believe existed. I developed true interpersonal connections with other women that cared. That part was a huge change for me. While I was being exploited, I was used to being in competition with other women. I was used to other women stabbing me in the back and tearing me down. I was used to other women judging me. I had never experienced that type of love, empathy, and connection ever in my life. And that is what we get to offer the women we serve today. And we believe that is the foundation of resiliency. Over the last 7 years, when I've had rough days, or when I've been ready to give up and go back to what I know, or the thought of dealing with stress in destructive ways creeps into my mind, I have a community of women standing beside me and behind me, sitting in the muck and mire with me, but pushing me to get through. We saw a gap in our community, though, and we decided to address it. I have the pleasure of working with various law enforcement agencies today, both federal and state. And sometimes I'm afforded the opportunity of going out on stings with them and being in the room when women think they have just been arrested for prostitution, so that I can offer them services and a way out instead of a criminal record. I am excited that the tide is changing with how people view prostituted persons in America. Prostitution is not a victimless crime. The daily realities of living in a life of prostitution are horrendous. I have been in so many fistfights with grown men, run out of hotel rooms with my clothes in my hand while I can get dressed in the stairwell, while I can hear the man still screaming because I maced him in his eyeballs as he tried to violently rape me. How many times I found guns in hotel rooms? How many women I know that have been murdered by their pimps or by the people that buy them. Prostitution is not a glamorous job, and it is not safe in the suites or in the streets, as they say. Our organization offers immediate crisis support as well as long-term support to people affected by sexual exploitation. We have impacted more than 400 women since our doors opened in 2010. We are beginning to equip other communities with how to run our programming so they can offer the same services to their own community. We have operations in Iraq, we've been in the Philippines and Scotland, and soon to be Nigeria, hopefully. We want victims of exploitation all over the world to know they are seen, they are loved, they are valued, and they should never feel ashamed about what happened to them. Success looks different for all of us, rightly so. For me, just being alive is a score in my book. I never thought I'd live to see 21, much less 37. But being resilient has meant getting to live a new life. Being resilient has meant finding pleasure helping other people using my pain. Being resilient means finding enjoyment in small things and getting to raise my handsome little boy so that he never becomes a part of the problem. I believe when you sit with people in their time of need, that it changes you. When you connect with people that you'd never meet in your daily life and sit down and hear them, truly hear them, it changes you. It is much easier to sit far back and judge or not relate because you can never imagine what they have experienced in your own life. It takes intention to sit and listen and feel what they must have felt. This world is not going to change unless we do just that. People will go right on being abused and exploited all over the world unless we stand up and say, no more. If we're not teaching our children about other people's plights in life and ways they can help those that are less fortunate, then we're raising a self-absorbed generation that will change nothing. Helping others turn tragedy into triumph is messy and hard, but the rewards of helping just one person affects generations and communities. All the help I have received over the years has allowed me to train tens of thousands of law enforcement, social workers, and community members across the country on this issue. It has allowed me to use my pain to relate to others so they no longer feel ashamed or embarrassed by what happened to them. It has allowed me to rise out of the temporary poverty I had to choose by escaping exploitation. It has allowed me to receive multiple awards and be featured on TV several times. It has allowed me to become a better mommy to my son. It has taught me that no matter how many times I fail or fall down, that there is sweet, succulent fruit in never giving up. It has taught me that empathy and human connection and safety are mandatory for healing to take place. And now, I get to instill those traits in other people so they can affect their communities and their spheres of influence. Will you step into this fight and stand in this gap with me? Thank you.